So in these little cars, I'm always trying to figure out how big the trunk room is. And seems like it's big enough for me.
What is up, internet world, and welcome back to the channel. Today I bring you the 2022 Mazda MX-5. So you can get 3 different trims when you're buying a Mazda MX-5 convertible. The first one, which is the base, is called the Sport. Second, which is this, is called the Club, and the top model is called the Grand Touring. Now they all come with manual transmissions at the base and the Club level, but if you want an automatic, you have to spend the dollar and buy the Grand Touring version. Now they're all rear-wheel drive, but that is not all. You can get this thing in something called an RF, which is a retractable fastback. Yes, a hardtop convertible in something this small. You don't have to take it off the car. It retracts. That is pretty cool. Come take a look at the convertible. So who's the competition? Well, there's the BMW Z4 or Z4, depending on where you live. That is also a convertible, but it is about $10,000 more. What else? There's a Subaru BRZ and the Toyota GR86, but those are coupes only. They're also rear-wheel drive. What else? There is the Mini Cooper, but that is front-wheel drive. Man, running out of options here. Hey, if you want to get one of these things and you think you want one that's the most expensive because you want to ball out and buy the most expensive one you can buy, well, you can get something called the Brembo, BBS, and Recaro package, and when you get this fancy paint, it's almost 40,000 bucks. Maybe then you'll think. But for the rest of us, we want to buy something that's fairly inexpensive, easy to work on. Voila! Underneath this aluminum hood, you will see a 2-liter Skyactiv G with 181 horsepower and 151 pound-feet of torque. Yes, there's no turbos, but you do have a front strut brace and a housing cover that looks like an original Supra. Wow, I just put the top down and I'm blinded by the sun. Glasses on, hat on, first gear, 181 horsepower, let's go. This is why people buy this car, because it's just so easy and light, and the fact the top can go down in 1.5 seconds is just nuts to me. Now, there's 2 things I would change about this car. One is the, obviously, infotainment system. It's archaic, but also the placement of this rotary button. Every time my elbow's here and I try to change gears, I'm hitting this button, and it always says trying to connect to James's phone because, well, James had the car last, in a British accent. And the other thing I would change is the tires. I find that the quality of these tires are actually pretty bad. Considering this thing is close to $37,000, there are other brands that offer performance tires at $37,000. Just something to keep in mind, because this thing would grip a lot better if it just had better out-of-the-box tires. Not going to point out brands, but I want better ones. But the shifting is just so good. It's easy, it's light, and it's a great beginner's car. Because this is not turbocharged, it's pretty predictable all the way through the power band. And it's fast enough. I wouldn't want this in a turbo. I'd want to know that this thing is ultra reliable, and yes, I'll stay in the lane. It's just a fun, easy car, and with all these numbers that people are throwing out for how much performance they do, 0 to 60 times, this thing doesn't even have an exhaust. It has an exhaust, but it has an exhaust from like economy muffler. Nothing about it screams performance. It just screams have some fun, easy, bare bones, and Mazda. Even the screen is so bad that nobody's gonna say, hey, I wanna buy this thing because of the screen. They'll say, hey, I'm never buying this thing because of the screen. So it actually has a disadvantage for people that are looking for tech. But then the person that buys this doesn't care about tech. They care about the drive, the power plant, the powertrain, the convertible. This will not break any speed records by a long shot, but it doesn't matter because this motor is just a motor. Not one you want to hear, but one you want to feel. Front end, aluminum. Fenders, hood, plastic bumper. This is the original Mazda stuff, not the new grill. But who cares? Because it's all about the looks, the fact it's wide. It's not the skinny Miata that we think about. It's wide, it's sharp, it's got these wide flares. And again, aluminum, rain sensing wipers, and automatic high beams. That's all you need to know. So you can get 7 different exterior colors, 2 different top colors, and an appearance package. This one is the club trim, so you get Bilstein shocks. You do have a lot of aluminum pieces in the suspension, and of course 17-inch rims that are black. And also fancy Bridgestone tires. But what else? What else do you get? It's all here. You get a limited slip differential in the back. You also get something called torque vectoring, which is usually when it transfers power from one side to the other when it's going around a corner. But in this case, they apply brakes to use it. So when you're going around the corner, what it does is it puts brakes on the inside wheel to just tidy up the car a little bit. Since we're on the side, we want to show you how the top opens and closes. You simply pull this handle, it releases the top that comes up by a little handle you can pull, and then you can close it by this latch. You see, I can just pretty straightforward. But the important piece to know here is not that this top is any different, except for it has a glass rear window that has a defrost in it. Most cars don't have plastic anymore, but just something to point out in case you're looking at one of the older ones.
So in these little cars, I'm always trying to figure out how big the trunk room is. And seems like it's big enough for me when I contort, but I can fit. And that is important to know because I can fit in a lot of cars that we review here on Accelerate. Okay, here we go. But this is a Mazda MX-5, and I can actually fit. Yes, it ain't as small as it looks. I like the way this back end looks. It's nice and wide, and it flares like this. It's just like the front. I really like the way they've done this. How much fuel can you put in this thing? 12 gallons to be exact. It doesn't suck up a lot of fuel, so that kind of makes sense. You've got a third brake light up here. You've got LED taillights right here that look very Jaguarish, in my opinion. What else? Take a look at this little camera. Nice smiley face. And then lower down, you got 2 weak pea shooters. I would like to, even if they're going to add more weight, put an exhaust on here, put an exhaust on here, would actually make this thing look a little more beefier, in my opinion. They've added aluminum on this rear little lid. And then this is always going to go missing because you haven't subscribed. Check out these door panels. This is a cool touch. It's a bit dated in some respects because that touch was good when you used to get fiberglass panels on the doors 20 years ago. But I still like it because it matches the outside and it's not that far off. A lot of the guys do it, but the color inside is so different from the one outside. So I like the fact that it's there and it's just a nice touch, Mazda. What else can I tell you about this storage? There's not a lot of it. There's basically nothing. There's this little handle here where you can lift up and you get a key that you can stick inside here. You can also get some storage in the back there. Not a ton, just a really small car. No place to put your cell phone. And you have to plug your cell phone in to get Apple CarPlay or Android Auto because you have 2 USBs right there. It does not have wireless. Now this screen is a touch screen, so you can slide your hand left and right and actually make it work half decent, but it's pretty reflective when the sun is out. But in Apple CarPlay, it's brighter, so it actually isn't as bad. So if you're using Apple CarPlay, then maybe the reflective won't bother you as much as if you're trying to see something else. Everything else looks pretty straightforward, a lot of plastics, but who cares about that stuff? It's all about the shifter, it's all about the cluster, and it's all about the drive. And hey, if you have somebody with you, they have a mirror on both sides. So I'm not sure if this is a phone holder, but it's right next to USB, so you'd figure that it would fit a phone. Maybe like an iPhone mini skinny. And while you're out on a drive in this thing, you have 9 speakers because they're in the headrest. That is sweet. And these are heated and they hold you in pretty decent. We'll find out when I go around this corner. All in all, the Mazda Miata is a niche product. Now, if the economy does change,
you have that spread of Mazda MX-5 Miatas to buy. Except in 2022, just remember that the steering wheel is a little bit larger. You've got this SRS thingamajiggy here, which should really be something that Hyundai does that says N-Line, or Audi that says S-Line. Maybe it's time for Mazda to bring back the Mazda Speed, or call it M-Line, and have it here. I think that's what Mazda should do. So I'm happy with it. I think the only thing I could really complain about is these seats. I think the seats should have, or they feel like they have some sort of seat cover on them. They feel a little bit hollow, especially in my mid-back to upper back section. Everything else is pretty cool, and I'm happy that I got to drive one. So, thanks for watching.